Hi, and welcome to my second ever episode on my channel. This is part one of my visually impaired life series, and it's going to be how I got to where I am today in a nutshell, as quick as possible. And then videos after this will break it down in pieces. So, it's a year and a half of my life. It's going to take a long time to talk about, and I don't think anybody wants to watch 30-minute long videos. So I'm going to do a quick synopsis of it, and then I am going to break it down in parts, like the MRI process, how that happened, how I felt, what happened in the MRI process, and even how much it cost me after insurance, everything. So I'm going to start off. And I'm going to start off by saying thank you so much to all of you who subscribed, who commented, who gave me your feedback, support. You guys are absolutely amazing. I was so worried about my first video because I thought I was talking too slow. I thought that I was saying way too many times. And I'm sure I'll get better at those things. So please, if there's things that annoy you, try to look over them or let me know and I'll change it. So, moving on. September 2017, I was sitting in my room, just got home from work, being lazy, watching television, sitting on my bed. And I noticed a gray speck in my vision. I had just happened to get glasses right before, like less than a month earlier prior to this. And it wasn't for bad vision. It was for stigmatisms in each eye. I went for an eye exam and they said, well, you need a minor prescription, but if you want, to correct the stigmatisms in both eyes, we need to put glasses on you. And I agreed. And I got them, and, my wife thought they looked okay on me and stuff, and I was right. I was good to go. So, and I'll also let you know that before this, I was in the middle of buying a house with my wife, and we had just had a baby. She wasn't even a year old yet. And anybody who's ever bought a house knows it's very stressful to own a home and to purchase one. Actually, getting in the house, we've been okay, but to purchase a home, it's a really stressful process. The banks love to mess with you, tell you you're approved and you're not approved, and you might be approved, but then and so forth. It's a big circus. So, but I got through that, and I have my house. I'm in my dining room right now. My wife loves our house. So I'm in my room. I have a speck of gray in my right eye, so I go to the eye doctors, assuming it's from stress, because I was so stressed around this time. I'm like, well, maybe this is stress causing this, because they noticed he was getting a little bit worse. So I called the doctors. The next day, they let me in. By the time I go to the doctor, that little gray dot was a crescent moon on the inside of my eye, and she couldn't see it. So she recommended I went for an emergency because it was progressing to get worse. So she recommended a specialist. So it was a Friday, and then a Saturday she sent me to a specialist in the city nearest me. And I went, and she couldn't figure it out, so she called a buddy, and he took some photos of the back of my eye and noticed that he thought it might have been optic neuritis, swollen optic nerve, and they recommended I go get an MRI. So I did. About 4 days after that, my eye was getting worse, so now it was like half my eye, and they noticed that. They didn't notice. I went and got the MRI. The MRI process went done 3 days after the MRI. They give me a call, scaring the daylights out of me, telling me I found anomalies in my brain. I had a cyst and I had lesions, but she was vague. She would not tell me what it meant at all. She said, well, you need to take an emergency spinal tap tomorrow. I'm scheduling you right now. You need a spinal tap immediately. And it made me even more scared, because I'm like, am I dying? This is the thought that's going through my head. And I tell my wife, and my wife's like, it just seems crazy that they're just going to put you right through a spinal tap. And that's a lot of money. And so I thought about it. The next morning, I canceled it. They called me within 10 minutes saying, no, it's okay. We were going to call you today and tell you didn't need the spinal tap anyway, but we do need you to come in this following Friday. It was like a Monday or Tuesday when this happened. And then she goes, but we're going to dilate both your eyes, so make sure you get someone to drive you there. We're telling you not to drive. You have to bring somebody. And I thought that was weird, but I was like, okay. And because I've had my eyes dilated through this process, and they still let me drive, But I went there with my mother, and they pulled me in the office and gave me a total fake appointment. They said, "Oh, we're gonna, you're gonna see this doctor." It wasn't the case. I was seeing a different doctor who was a neuro-ophthalmologist, and they sent me in for the peripheral testing and all this, and stopped me like a third of the way through the process. Said, "Oh, he doesn't need the testing. The doctor's ready for him." And then they still charged me for that, by the way. I was a little ticked off, and they pulled me in the office and they said, "Did you bring somebody?" I said, "Yes." And they said, "You need to go get that person because I have to tell you something." And I immediately knew bad news. So I went and got my mom. I was pretty much tearing because I knew they were giving me bad news. I sit there and he tells me, "You have optic neuritis due to multiple sclerosis." And my whole world just fell apart. It was not a diagnosis I wanted to hear because all I could think of is wheelchairs and death. And last thing I want is that in my life, especially when my life was so good at the moment. I was getting a house. I had a daughter. I really wanted a daughter so bad. I had 2 boys. All I ever wanted was a daughter. I kept telling my wife, we're not going to stop having kids till we have a girl, even if we have 500 boys. But I wanted a daughter so bad. Daddy's girl. And I got a girl, and I'm very happy about it, by the way. So my mother asked him, "How do you know it's multiple sclerosis?" And he said, "Well, because I've seen this many times." And he goes, "Your brain is full of lesions. His brain is full of lesions." And my mom said, "How many?" And he goes, "About 7. And his exact words, I'll never forget. And he told me to go to mayoclinic.com, get some info, sent me for an emergency steroid treatment at the hospital. And that's when they stick an IV in you and put bags and bags of steroids in you. And I'm going to whole video on that, how much I hate it. I'm going to tell you right now. I had it in my right eye, denied it for my left eye when it happened. And believe it or not, my left eye turned out better than my right eye. So go figure. But not saying not to do it because doctors know best and studies show the math. But anyway, moving on. I end up leaving there, getting the treatments, and as I'm getting the treatments, I'm realizing, and I'm trying to work through these treatments. This is a goddamn nightmare. The side effects make you feel like you actually have MS. I actually started believing I had multiple sclerosis because I remember walking up the stairs at work and my knees locked up on me. I couldn't move my knees, and I was like, why? And come to find out, it's just part of the side effects of the steroids, but it gave me all the symptoms of multiple sclerosis, I'm telling you. And I went with just night vision before. I had no symptoms other than a speck in my eye. For like $100. I went to my primary, and my primary told me there is no lesions that he could see, but he's not a specialist, so he sent me to a neurologist. And he told me, by the way, there's obviously something wrong with your eyes, Vinny, but I can assure you it's not MS, and you're not going to die. But we're going to send you to a neurologist anyway. So I did. I went to an awesome, amazing neurologist. Very beautiful neurologist, by the way. She was beautiful inside and out. She sat there and talked to me forever when she could have just been pushing me away so fast like most doctors do. She didn't. And she tested everything under the sun. Everything. She tested me for syphilis, HIV, you name it. She tested me for it. She tested me for immune diseases. The only thing that came out negative was my vitamin D count was a little low. And that's not even a negative. That's just, anybody who lives in New Hampshire. And that's where I live currently. And so I knew I didn't have brain lesions. And I knew at that point it wasn't MS. I wasn't going to settle for that. So I went to another eye doctor. And awesome doctor in Concord, New Hampshire. Really nice. And he goes, "I don't think it's MS either." He goes, "But I can't tell you otherwise. You're going to have to go to Boston or whatever." So while I'm in the process of all these doctor's visits, I start losing vision in my left eye. And now I'm really freaking out because I'm at work one day and I ask a gentleman where something was, and he points down the hall, and I notice his hand disappears. I didn't have a gray speck like I did in my right eye. It was just total vision loss. His hand was gone. My brain didn't want to see it. I could see the background where his hand was, but I just couldn't see the hand. Isn't that weird? Like a computer. It's messed up. So I go in the office and I tell my boss, I won't be here Monday. And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm going blind in my left eye now. It's hitting my left eye." And he's like, "Oh." And by Monday, my entire left eye was covered. really quick. Well, it wasn't 100% to where it is now, but every day it was gradually worse and worse. Every morning I wake up, it'd be a little worse, a little worse. But it was to the point where I was getting pixels and everything all over. So I go to Boston, Mass. Oh, no, not Boston, Mass. I go to a retinal specialist because I'm thinking maybe my retina's detaching because it wasn't the same as the right eye. So I go with my tail between my legs to the same doctor's office, but I get a different doctor, and he was amazing. He was like the same age as me, and he might not have had the right diagnosis, but he wasn't screaming multiple sclerosis. In fact, he looked at my MRI and he said, "You don't have a detached retina, I can guarantee you that." He said, "And he goes, I don't like to disagree with colleagues, but this colleague, however, is not right. You do not have brain lesions." And he even called my neurologist right in front of me, and they both agreed that it wasn't MS. So I'm like, I know it's not MS. I knew it wasn't MS. I just, I'm just grateful and whatever. But what is it is what I want to know. So he tells me he thinks I have NAION, which is non-arteritic ischemic optic neuropathy. Now he asked me, "Do you snore a lot?" And I happen to say yes, because that very morning, because I'm usually at work at 5 a.m. in the morning, that very particular morning, I slept in because I had the doctor's appointment and my mother was coming to get me. And my wife happened to wake up and say, "You know what?" She goes, "You snore so bad." She goes, "I have to check to see if you're breathing sometimes." She just happened to say this to me the day I go to this doctor's appointment. She's like, you like have 20-second delays of breath between each snore. And so I told the doctor that, and the doctor said, "Yep, we're going to go get you a sleep test." So I took the sleep apnea test, found out I had moderate to severe sleep apnea. And then, so I thought a problem was solved. I lost my vision overnight through low oxygen and low blood. And in other words, my brain wasn't getting enough oxygen, so it took the oxygen away from my eyes and put it to my brain in safety mode, in protection mode, and it caused my nerves to get damaged in the process. So that made sense to me. I was like, finally, something makes sense. Something makes sense. But he told me, "Vinny, you better go get your priorities straight because you're going to be like this forever. Your vision isn't coming back." In fact, that other doctor that told me I had MS told me my vision was going to come back eventually. He said it should come back. If it might not come back 100%, but it's going to come back. And I kept waiting months and months, and it wasn't coming back. So I knew something else was up. And he told me, "Vinny, it's not coming back." He's like, "You better start thinking about disability." He goes, "I'll sign anything you need." And he goes, "I am so sorry that you have to deal with this vision loss." And he knew about the peripheral testing, so he's like, "I'm not charging you for the peripheral testing today." I'm like, "You don't have to do that." But he was a nice doctor, really nice guy. And so come to find out, I'm thinking it's NAION, and I have to go on disability and this and that. And I didn't even cross my mind. Disability wasn't even a thought in my mind. I just thought I was going to get over this and I was going to be back to work. Never thought I'd be that person that signed for disability in my life. And I didn't want to at all. I'll get into future videos. You're gonna hear about that. So I go to Mass Eye and Ear after that, and they think it's not NAION. I'm too young for NAION. People in their 70s and 80s get it, or people that get surgical procedures wake up blind from it. In fact, I have a friend, Jason. Shout out to you, buddy. He went for surgery and on his spine, and he woke up and he was blind. So, like, same sort of vision as me, except his is worse, I think, from how he describes it. And they're like, "We don't think it's that. We think it's LHON, Leber's hereditary, or Leber's, however you pronounce it, hereditary optic neuropathy." And I was like, okay, that makes sense to me, because coincidentally, the day before I went to Boston, Mass, I was at a Home Depot and I had to get some things, and I got a phone call, and I do speakerphone on my phone, and it was the Future in Sight, the Association for the Blind, talking to me about my vision loss. And I was explaining to him what my vision loss looked like. And this guy overheard me, and he was the carriage guy at the Home Depot. And he stopped. He was just standing in my peripheral. I noticed somebody standing in my peripheral because I have a little peripheral vision. And I get off the phone and I ask him, I said, "Can I help you? And do you need to be here? And am I in your way?" And he said, "No." He goes, "I overheard your conversation." He goes, "I'm not trying to be, nosy, but sounds like you have LHON. He goes, I have LHON. And I thought that was kind of strange. I'm like, no, it couldn't be that. I heard about it, but I'm like, nobody in my family has it. He goes, nobody in my family had it either. Because I'm the first. And he's actually the second person I met with LHON that's the first in their family line. So I thought, oh, okay. So when I went to Boston, I said to the doctor, I met someone with LHON, and he described his vision. Sounds just like mine. The story that he lost his sight, same story as mine. And Derek from Life After Sight Loss, same story. How he lost his vision the same way I lost my vision. Just in different, scenes, but same process. So I tell the doctor, and the doctor goes, we're going to get to that. And he smiles at me. He goes, we're going to get to that. And yes, I can notice he was smiling, okay? I do see, certain things in my peripheral, just no details or anything. But as I'm sitting there, he tells me, I think you have LHON, and they send me out for a blood work. I take the test, which after insurance, by the way, it cost me $1,800. I still haven't got the bill, but that's what they told me on the phone. It's very expensive genetic testing. There is ways to get free genetic testing that I did not know about, and I will make preference to that in a future video, or reference to that. But anyway, the test came out negative. I did not have labors, but now they think that it could be a rare form of labors. They tested me for another thing that was it attacks the spine. It's like an MS condition, but it attacks the spine and the eyes, but I was negative for that. Like I said, I felt like $100 since this. Ever since I've been off the steroids, I've felt like $100. And the end of this video, I'm currently today just awaiting more testing. So that's it in a nutshell. Future videos, I am going to be telling you the process. I'm going to break it down piece by piece, how I felt and all this stuff. So hopefully this is good. Hopefully I didn't annoy you to death. And thank you so much to everybody that's backed me up. I love the comments, all positive comments. I'm glad that you enjoyed listening to my first one. I'm hoping you enjoy this one, and I will have more coming, at least 2 a week. I'm hoping to upload on Monday and Fridays. All right? Thank you very much. Subscribe, hit the like button. My name is Vincent Grosso, and thank you for watching my Visual Impaired Life Part 1.